Welcome, welcome. Thank you for joining me here for another piano tutorial. My name is Warren McPherson if you're new to the channel. How are you doing this week? I trust you're having a blessed week, wonderful week. In today's video, we're going to talk about some important things, especially for beginners as it relates to ear training. Check this. As a beginner, how do you go about figuring out by ear if you're hearing a major chord, minor chord, diminished chord, augmented chord? Do you have a system that you follow, or do you just kind of wing this and hope that you guess the right chord? Well, if you're struggling to figure out how do you identify clearly what chord you're hearing, I have some tips I want to share with you today. But hey, if you haven't hit that subscribe button yet, hit the subscribe button, the notification bell, so you can be notified when we post new content. And stay tuned. All right, welcome back. The excerpt you're going to be watching today is actually taken from my full course, Identifying Triad Chords by Ear, where I cover major chords, minor chords, diminished chord, augmented chords, and suspension chords. And I give you practical tips on how to identify and distinguish all of these different types of triad chords. But in today's video, you're just going to watch the major and the minor video. I'm going to share some tips how you can distinguish between a major chord and a minor chord. So when you hear those chords, you know exactly what to listen for. And obviously, if you want to access the full course on Identifying Triad Chords by Ear, pianolessonwithwarren.com is the place you want to be. So stay tuned while we play this video. All right, for lesson 1, major chords. I'm going to teach you some stuff that I have used to identify major chord. So when you hear major chord, what comes to mind? What feeling or mood does it create? Can you associate it with any? That's the first thing you want to do. What's that gut reaction? If you were to pick one word to describe the feeling or the sound, what would it be? For me, bright, sunny, lively, cheerful, happy, powerful. Whenever I think of or hear a major chord, these are just some of the words or feeling that comes to me. It has that nice, bright sound, that nice, sunny sound. You know? Major chord. Listen to it. We're not thinking about progressions at this point. We're just thinking about that one isolated chord. The quality of that chord. What does it sound like? These are some of the words that comes to me. Again, bright, sunny, lively, cheerful, happy when I hear a major chord, especially in contrast to other chords. You can also sing each note of the chord or the first 5 notes of the scale, of the major scale, and see if that lines up with the major chord. Now we're getting a little bit more on the technical side. So if you hear this chord, I could tell that's my root note of the chord. Do, re, mi, fa, so, so, fa, mi, re, do. Do, re, mi, fa, so, so, fa, mi, re, do. So right then and there, I could hear that all the notes of the chord matches pitches from what I'm singing. Do, mi, so, mi, do. So that's another way you can confirm that emotional feeling. Am I able to sing the first 5 notes of that major scale? Then am I able to sing the individual notes of that chord? Does everything lines up? And if it does, then you have yourself a major chord. That's it. That's the simple technique I've used for, like I said, almost 2 decades that helps me to identify major chords by ear. So that's what I want you to do. Sit at your piano for a few minutes. Just play a major chord. Don't play a progression. Just pick a major chord, play it. Listen to it. Think about these descriptive words that I gave you. You can come up with your own. You don't have to stop there. Anything that gives you that initial feeling when you hear that chord, keep in mind. And the reason why we want to go with the initial feeling, that gut feeling, is because those feelings are never wrong. And they tend to be more consistent. Whenever you hear a major chord, do a check-in with yourself and go, what vibe am I getting? What emotion am I getting? Don't think again about progressions. Think about that one isolated chord. That's what we call identifying chord quality. And that's going to be a crucial skill later on when it comes to transcribing chords from a recording. That's part of the skill that we use to filling the blank of what is being played. So that's the major chord. Now, I always like to look at minor chords as the opposite of the major chord. Are you familiar with that yin-yang sign that is popular in philosophy in Asian cultures? You know, the concept about light versus dark, wrestling with each other. I always somehow think about that when I hear a minor chord. Or again, think about it in the context of a major versus minor. If the major is bright, sunny, lively, cheerful, happy, then I think of the minor chord as the complete opposite of all of that. So if we play a minor chord, you hear? It's no longer bright, it's dull. It's no longer sunny, it's gray. It's no longer happy or cheerful. It is sad. It is rainy. Now for contrast, listen to the major chord. Ooh, the sun just came out. Ooh, and then the sun went back in and the rain starts and the sky is gray. Things are sad. Lonely. You know, I think about all of the opposite of the major chord. So when you hear a chord being played, think about that. Am I getting a sunny, lively, bright, cheerful feeling? Or do I hear something more on the dull, gray, sad, and rainy side? That's it. Start to use the contrast. If you can't get that, again, gut reaction, that instinctive adjectives to describe the chord, what is it? If you don't get the bright, sunny, lively, then it's probably a minor. Does it have the dull, the gray, the sad, the rainy? You can also use the same concept that we talk about in the major lesson. Can you sing the first 5 notes of the scale, then the different degrees of the scale? I know that's my root note. I can hear it. Da, 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 da. Da 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 da. Or you can use solfege. Do re ma fa so fa ma re do. And if you're wondering why am I calling it ma and not me, that's because whenever we have a minor third, it's no longer me, it's ma. Whenever a solfege note has been lowered, it goes from mi to ma. And if we were doing la, then we have lo. If we go from ti, then ta. Just a little side note with solfeggio as to why I'm calling it ma. Do, re, ma, fa, so fa, ma, re, do. You can hear that minor sound. Do, ma, so, ma, do. So another thing you can use to just do that check, that more, technical, theoretical check to see, does it line up with that minor scale sounding? Am I getting that sense of dull, gray, and sad? Then you have yourself a minor chord. So you're starting to realize that, oh, okay, chord recognition or triad recognition isn't as complex. And by extension, this goes to everything in music. Associate a name and an emotion. That's the beginning of learning to play by ear. We don't just try to rely completely on memory. We try to attach all these different emotional things along with the theoretical explanation. And that's what helps to fuel that long-term memory. Remember, if you do a check on your own self, you'll realize that the most vivid memories of your past are the one that has strong emotional connection. Birth of your child, the day you got married, day you graduated from college, graduated from high school. How about your first job or your first car? You could probably remember those days very clearly because they meant something. They had some form of emotional thing attached to it. It wasn't just another day. And so again, when we hear a certain chord, try to instantly check in to see what feeling is being invoked. And then associate those adjectives or descriptive words. The ones I'm giving you are just stuff that has worked for me over the years. And I think they'll work for you too. You hear a minor chord, it gives me this dull, this gray, this sad, gloomy, rainy kind of vibe. For you, you might find some additional words or additional adjectives that works better for you. And that's completely fine. You don't have to stop with my list. You can come up with your own. The important concept is that don't just try to remember chord qualities by just trying to pull random stuff out of the ear. Now, use the already given talents that you have of emotional connections. When we hear sounds, what emotion does it triggers? And that will lead you to your minor chord. Very informative lesson, right? Now you know how to identify a major chord and a minor chord without guessing. Once you practice these skills outlined in the video, you'll get better at being able to identify these chords, to really hear the distinctions between major and minor. And hey, if you want to access the lesson on the diminished chord, augmented chord, and suspension chord, I highly recommend you check out pianolessonwithwarren.com. Over there, the membership for gospel musicians, and we teach you everything you need from beginner to advance as it relates to gospel music. That's music theory, ear training. We just released an ear training app. Once you join the membership, you get full access to that app, and it covers all of these different exercises, especially even on this course that we just talked about. You get exercises and quizzes on identifying the different triad chords by ear. We cover baseline training, we cover melodic dictation, we cover interval training, pitch recognition, chord progressions, and just we continue to build out that app. There's going to be so much features over there. pianolessonwithwarren.com also have a guided study path for beginners. Beginners have it the hardest of all the skill levels because there's so much information coming at you from all different angles of the internet. You don't know how to begin to process all of that, or even if you're processing the correct information, how do you begin to practice all these different concepts? How do you get to put them in a sort of manageable format so you're not overwhelmed each day? pianolessonwithwarren.com, the beginner's practice path, just released that this week. It's a 250-page roadmap document that tells you exactly what you need to do day in, day out. We have benchmarks, we have milestones, we have assessment, so you know exactly where you are and what you need to be working on next. So if you're looking for that kind of guided structure, guided path with valuable information and quizzes and techniques and assignments, PDF downloads, MIDI files, backing track, song breakdown tutorials, and an ear training app, you will not find a better place on the internet for stuff like that. So, pianolessonwithwarren.com, head over there, check it out. I guarantee you, you will not regret it. And Bye for now. Keep listening, keep singing, keep practicing, and I'll catch you in the next piano tutorial. Be blessed.